talking about the Giants' loss to the Dolphins, college football and fantasy football.
The Giants lost their third straight game to the Dolphins.
I mean, I'm not surprised at this point anymore with the Giants because their team's really in a deep, dark spot right now with everything that's going on. They have a lot of injuries, a lot of younger guys starting on the field for the older guys that are hurt now.
Obviously,
they need a lot of time to rebuild right now, I'd say.
And obviously, they still haven't won since they played a terrible team in Arizona. So,
I mean, right now I think they're ranked 32nd lowest in the entire league.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And obviously, it's hard to win when your O-line's giving up 7 sacks.
I mean, right now they have a lot of, as I said before, a lot of guys really injured. Some guys, such as Andrew Thomas and a couple others that got hurt in the last few games, have been out for consecutively, I think around 4 games almost.
Daniel Jones went without a touchdown for the 3rd straight week.
I mean, Daniel Jones, you can't put all the blame on the guy. He's really working hard out there right now, what he has left. He's got a neck injury now on top of all the stress that he has to deal with.
Yeah.
And he just needs he just needs a little bit of a momentum to get going again.
Yeah, it's hard to score touchdowns, especially when you have no time to throw whatsoever. So, and obviously it's hard to scramble, which he's very good at, running the ball when you have no good blocking. So, and Darren Waller did end up having his best game thus far for the Giants, though, with 80-plus receiving yards.
I mean, Darren Waller is a great player, and he just seems like he keeps on improving, and I just give him a lot of credit for what he's doing. He's just moving up and up in my rankings, I'd say.
And Jason Pinnock also had a huge pick six.
I mean, his 102-yard pick six was absolutely incredible. I'd say that's one of the greatest plays I've seen in a long time in the NFL, and it's definitely up there with, like, the Super Bowl pick six that they had against the Eagles last year with the Chiefs.
Yeah. And Zach Sealer led the charge of the Finns' defense with 2 sacks. Obviously, it's not hard to sack Daniel Jones right now.
No, 2 sacks isn't the greatest number in the world, but 2 sacks is better than nothing. And I mean, against the Giants O-line, it's not really anything to go nuts about.
Tua struggled even though he got the W.
I mean, I would say Tua is pretty much carried by his wide receivers and all of his other weapons he has around him. I mean, Tyreek Hill is an absolute animal.
Yeah.
And he's just getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, he still managed to throw 2 picks, going 22 for 30. Obviously, not a great game, but score showed differently.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the score says otherwise, and his other guys really, put him on their backs just to get him across and win the games for him.
The rookie Devon Achane had another outstanding week.
Yeah, he's doing good as a rookie. I would say he's as years go on, he's going to get better and better, and he's going to be higher in the rankings. I think he has a lot of potential.
Obviously, a touchdown and 151 rushing yards is special, no matter what.
No matter how much experience you really have, that's still a great stat to have just for one game.
Yeah, but sadly for the Dolphins, he will be missing a lot of time. The earliest he can be back is week 11 with a knee injury. So,
I mean, a knee injury is a substantial injury for any type of guy, especially for a pro athlete and a running back. That is something huge to come back from. But, I mean, he's got the best care in the world to help him out. And he definitely will make a comeback, and hopefully he'll be just as good as he has now.
Yeah, he was looking really special in the backfield for the Dolphins, but sadly we won't see him until week 11.
This will be a huge loss for Miami, as he was something special for them, to be honest. I agree with that. I mean, however, most are an opportunity to shine, as he looked solid for the first few weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he was supposed to be the starting back anyway. We didn't expect Achane to do what he's doing. So,
and now he's getting his opportunity to get back and take his spot and hopefully, hold it, or when Achane comes back, maybe he's going to really seal the deal and take that spot forever.
The player of the game, though, was obviously Tyreek Hill.
I mean, Tyreek Hill is just an absolute animal of a player, dude. He's just running up and down the field like a beast.
Yeah, I mean, 181 yards with a touchdown would seem crazy for any other player, but for Tyreek Hill, I mean,
it's almost
it's
average
not even
now.
Surprising, yeah. So, but will this be a rebuilding year for the Giants?
To be honest, think it will. I mean, considering their losses they've had, especially with their actual players and injuries and everything. I mean, the scores say a lot, too, in the games they've been played. I mean, they just lost, 31-16 to the Dolphins, and they've had a lot of their big losses to other teams.
Yep. Well, that'll do it for our weekly Giants coverage.
Don't go anywhere. Jake and Smitty will be recapping the best of Week 6 of college football.
Hello and welcome back to Left Bench Sports. Today we'll be looking at Week 6 of college football, and the first game we'll be covering is Oklahoma versus Texas. So I think this was definitely the game of the week. Smitty, who was your pick going into this game?
My pick going into this game was Texas, obviously. Texas just coming off of the game against Kansas, winning 40-14, was a pretty strong win for them. So I thought they were going to win.
Yeah, I also thought Texas was going to win this game. Just because overall, I didn't have that much faith in Oklahoma. I definitely thought they were a good team. They were a ranked team. But Texas, beating Alabama, just proving that, they could beat ranked teams. I didn't know if Oklahoma was actually as good as all their big wins against these low-name college teams. I didn't know if they were as good as they really looked. But, they showed out. They ended up winning 34-30. I think it surprised a lot of people. They're now ranked 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the first half. At halftime, it was 20-17. Game started off 7-0 Oklahoma. And I was like, all right, so this is actually going to be a game because I thought Texas was going to win by a lot. But all of a sudden for Texas, Malik Muhammad blocked a punt and got a touchdown, 7-7. And at this point, I was like, we have a game. So going into halftime, it was 20-17. And Smitty, what was your thoughts on the first half? At the end of the first half, who did you think? Did you think Oklahoma, maybe they would pull this one out?
I thought Texas was still going to win it at this point. Both teams were very strong. They both had great first halves, and they were just playing team ball, and it was just a great first half for both sides.
Yeah, I think both sides on offense had great performances. For Texas, Corinne Owers had 346 passing yards and a touchdown, but those 2 interceptions come into play, so maybe that could have been a big factor.
Definitely.
Why they ended up losing the game. And Jonathan Brooks, 129 rushing yards and a touchdown, leading for their offense. Looking at the receiving, Jordan Whittington, 10 receptions for 115 yards. So both sides on offense, I think they were both looking really good today.
Yeah, definitely. Both sides were very strong. Both sides' offense were very strong. Defense at the same time, they were both strong. They just couldn't stop the ball. They just kept getting a lot of touchdowns, a lot of passing, and a lot of rushing coming through. So they were both sides of the ball were strong for both teams.
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma, Tawi Walker, 2 rushing touchdowns definitely made a factor. Dylan Gabriel, lefty quarterback, 285 passing yards. But I think what came in big, too, was his 113 rushing yards and a touchdown. And then, obviously, Jaleel Farouk with 130 reception yards. Second half, Tawi Walker made it 27-17. And at this point, I thought maybe Oklahoma was going to start to pull away. But that didn't happen. Texas came back. It was tie game going to the fourth quarter. And then Texas ended up getting the lead with a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that crazy ending, what were your thoughts about that ending, the Nick Anderson touchdown?
That was it was a good throw. It was a great just a great play on offense. I thought that's why they won it.
Yeah, great execution. Pulled through with the upset, Nick Anderson touchdown to win the game. And Oklahoma moves up to number 5 while Texas gets pushed back to number 9. Another great game that went down this weekend was Louisville versus Notre Dame, and it was exciting as Louisville ended up upsetting Notre Dame. So coming into this game, Louisville was undefeated, but they were only ranked 25th as they hadn't played any ranked team yet. So Notre Dame, on the other hand, was ranked 10th, but I thought Notre Dame was definitely going to win this game going into this. So another upset. Smitty, who did you have winning?
Well, obviously, I think everybody probably had Notre Dame winning this.
Yeah.
25th ranked Louisville, who hasn't played a ranked team yet, going against number 10th ranked Notre Dame. Everybody just thought that Notre Dame was going to win.
Yeah, I think that's also another problem with the AP poll is there's a lot of good teams who aren't high up on the poll yet, who are actually better than the teams that are farther up ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But Louisville proving that, they're actually a really good team as they beat Notre Dame by 13.
Louisville winning is just showing that they're a top 10. They're not a top 10, but they're a top ranked team in the country, beating number 10 ranked Notre Dame. That's a top 10 team that they're beating right there.
Yeah, showing they're legit. Jawar Jordan, Louisville. he had 143 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So he definitely played a big factor for them. The passing game didn't look that big for Louisville, as Jack Plummer only had 145 passing yards. But the defense for Louisville stood out as they ended up forcing Sam Hartman to 3 interceptions. So Louisville moves up to 14, and Notre Dame moves back to 21. And Notre Dame actually plays USC next week, so that's going to be another good game.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame's had a lot of hard opponents recently, so
Yep.
it'll be exciting to see how they match up against USC.
Yeah, especially on the QB side against Caleb Williams, the Heisman winner last year. That's going to be a great test for the defense, for Notre Dame's defense.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I don't know if USC's defense is actually that good because they seem to let up a lot of points every single week, but Caleb Williams is always going to show out.
Yep.
All right, last game we're going to be talking about is Miami versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech pulled off the upset 23-20, and this was just another high-emotion game. Miami gets pushed back to 25th after going into the game 17th. They struggled against Georgia Tech.
It was a very big struggle for Notre Dame. Miami. Miami, they're a good team and all, but they thought they were gonna beat non-ranked Georgia Tech, and but they just came into the game thinking that they could beat them, but they wound up not beating them, and it was just a rough game for them.
Yeah, I think they thought that they had an easy matchup. It's Georgia Tech, not really going to try. But you look at the end of the game, that crazy ending, 2 plays in 30 seconds to win the game. I mean, it's just
especially by Miami not running the ball and fumbling it. They should have just need the ball with 40 seconds left.
Honestly.
If they need the ball, and there was first down as well, they should have just need the ball, run the timeout, and just need again, and then they would have won the game.
Yeah, and looking at the whole game, once again, interceptions come into play. Tyler Van Dyke in Miami, 288 passing yards, but 3 interceptions against unranked Georgia Tech. You can't do that. I mean, showed it at the end of the game that just can't hold up with throwing that many interceptions. Got to hold on to the ball. But obviously, to talk about the crazy ending, Chaney fumbles it, and Georgia Tech gets it with 30 seconds. They get the pass to Rutherford to bring it past the 50, and they spike the ball with 10 seconds left.
That was just a bad move by Miami's coach. That was just not the right play to do, especially as a college coach. You should be, like I said, you should be kneeing the ball instead of running the ball, because what happened was the worst of the worst, and it happened.
Yeah, lots of bad things going the coach's way, but Christian Leary topping it all off with a 44-yard touchdown reception for the win. And the emotions of Miami players showed it. I mean, you look at the bench, they're all saying, "What are we doing?"
They were all some of them were even crying on the bench. That was just a bad game for Miami.
Yeah, and they led in total yards, 453, and Georgia Tech only had 250. Miami just couldn't close out the game, and obviously dumb play at the end of the game, top it all off. But that's all we have this week. Those are all the games we're going to be covering. Don't go anywhere, as Luke and Myles are talking fantasy football when we get back, and make sure to stay tuned next week as we go over the next game's coverage.
Hello, welcome back to Left Bench Sports. I'm your host, Myles Berkowitz, and this is Luke Jaclin. Now I'll be talking about some of our favorite waiver wire pickups for the upcoming fantasy week. Well, first I'd like to talk about Dalton Schultz. The tight end has moved through the state as he is now with the Texans. He went from the Cowboys, and I think his production is just going to continue to produce. I really like what C.J. Stroud's doing this year. Rookie quarterback, he doesn't really want to throw the ball deep every time. At least the coaches might not want him to. So I think Schultz is a good check down option, and he should be getting 5+ targets a game.
Yeah, I like Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys. Obviously, then goes to the Texans. C.J. Stroud's been using him in their last couple weeks. In the beginning of the year, not so much, but now he's getting into the game more. New quarterback. He's on a new team, so new system for all of them, and he could still improve more.
Yeah, last week he had 7 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown, and Texans defense really not that great, so I think there'll be plenty of opportunities for him this year. I really like what he has in terms of skill set. I think last year, at least with Dallas, he scored a lot of touchdowns, so that's a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, touchdowns are what gets the fantasy points. And next I'd like to talk about running back Tajai Spears from the Titans. He's really playing most receiving downs, not getting that many carries because Derrick Henry is their lead running back. But he still could get some good points. Has seen a decent amount of snaps through the first couple weeks, and that could still improve. He had 7 rushes for 34 yards last week and a touchdown. But he had another 4 catches for 40 yards. So that could help. It's really the receiving you're going to get with him more than the rushing. But receiving is going to help running backs in fantasy a lot.
Yeah, I think with him, you're kind of seeing like a Jalen Warren, James White type, where you're not really going to get much rushing upside with him. But, receivers, he's going to get at least 4 targets out of the backfield each game. Let's say he goes 4 for 40 each game. That's 8 points. It's a solid flex. Then, I don't know, he could get a touchdown. I really like his snap count. He was in on 53% of the snaps last week. Derrick Henry was in on 58% of the snaps, so they went 2 running backs for a couple snaps. But I really like what they're doing. Mike Vrabel, over the past, he's had Derrick Henry. He hasn't really had to go to another running back, but as Henry gets older, I think they're going to pivot away from him. Not going to want to pay him as much, obviously, like what the whole league's really trying to do with running backs. But I really like Spears this year. I think he's talented, and I just really like him.
Yeah, as you were saying, they could use both of them being on the field. Spears being in different places, with Henry mostly just being a running back. But Spears can be seen all over the field, getting a lot of different opportunities to get the ball in different ways.
Mm-hmm. I mean, last year, Jarek McKinnon last year, he had a really good end to the season just off of receiving. I think in the last week of the season, he had like 1 rush for -2 yards, but he got like 17 fantasy points just all off of touchdowns and receiving work. Next, I would like to talk about Minshew Mania with Anthony Richardson on the IR, and Minshew came in with the 3rd straight week and had 6.5 fantasy points. Obviously, with Richardson on IR, for at least the next 4 weeks, it's going to be the Gardner Minshew show. And what I really like about him is that the Colts offense, it's been surprisingly good. Pittman, Josh Downs, I really like what they have going there, especially with the 2 running back system of Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. But I really like what I'm seeing from Minshew. I think he's always been one of the best backups in the league, and now he's getting an opportunity to start.
Yeah, Minshew probably is the best backup in the league, has been for a while. He throws the ball a lot. He's not going to run that much, but he's going to get you a lot of passing upside, get a lot of points, get throw for some touchdown. The only thing to worry about is their running game. Obviously, they have 2 pretty good running backs. Jonathan Taylor could be a superstar whenever he gets back into it. And Zach Moss has been really good for them the first couple of games when Jonathan Taylor wasn't there. So as long as they stick with the passing game, then Minshew is going to be great in fantasy.
Yeah, Minshew he's really not similar at all to Anthony Richardson. Richardson's more of a Cam Newton comparison, and Minshew's just your average pocket passer, but he gets it done, and I think we'll see Pittman's fantasy value rise, and I think we'll see Josh Downs and Alec Pierce's fantasy value rise because they're going to be passing it more with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, Richardson ran for a lot of yards, but now it's completely different. With Minshew in the game, they're just going to be looking to throw a lot more than they were earlier in the year.
Yeah, Shane Steichen last year, he was with Philly. Gardner Minshew was the Philadelphia backup, so I think he likes him a fair amount to trade for him again. And now we got him for at least the next 4 weeks. That's all for Left Bench Sports this week. See you next week, as hopefully the Patriots offense will score the first touchdown in 31 drives.